This is a matchup that we see very frequently. Normally though, whenever I get to cast this Protoss versus Zerg, these two facing off against each other, it's in a smaller online weekly cup. This time around, however, it's the GSL Code S, the most prestigious tournament over in South Korea. Now this best of 3 series, we start off on the map Alcyone, that's it. We start off on the map Alcyone in the top right-hand corner, playing with the blue Protoss pieces. We have none other than Hero and his opponent in the opposite corner, playing with the red Zerg drones. We're looking at none other than Dark's main base. Now normally, both of these guys can be... Oh, okay. I thought for a second the drone was gonna go across the map. Normally these guys can be quite cheeky. Very frequently do we see proxy hatcheries, proxy gateways, all sorts of cheese. I've seen Dark, for example, recently play quite a bit of Nidus against Hero, but usually whenever there is a big online tournament or a big offline tournament happening, these two will suddenly sober up and play remarkably normal. Not exactly sure what to expect from this one, but I'm assuming at the very least things will look at least somewhat more organized. That being said, I always kind of think that Dark doesn't really play build orders. Maybe for like his first 50 supply or so, he's got a plan, but after that, he just sort of throws everything into the wind and just does whatever feels good. If you try to, for example, study a bunch of Dark replays, it's quite difficult actually to figure out what he's going to be doing next, because most of the time, well, he just seems to wing it. If you compare it to, for example, the other top-level Zergs, usually you can expect that until like 100 supply, bare minimum, you will see basically the same moves every single time. But even little things like Overlord positioning, right? A lot of StarCraft 2 players will have a standard pattern for their Overlords, but not so much Dark. Makes him a tough opponent to go up against, and that's exactly why Hero is going to scout the gold base here as well, nice and early. For now, alright, he's actually going to be the one. Who's going to hide a worker on the right side of the map? We'll have to keep an eye out on exactly what he decides to do. Cybercore is already done. Second pylon was built inside of the main base, and that indeed means that the tech will be attached over there. It is not... I think he just wants to block this base. Dark has decided to not go for the base just yet, though, although I'm expecting, exactly, a drone to move on over in that direction in just a moment. Nothing all too weird, but still a little annoying. Yeah. So this is actually quite cheeky. Normally, Zerg would go for 4 Zerglings. In this particular instance, Dark has gone for only 2, and with 2, you can actually not kill that pylon in time for the Adept to arrive on the other side of the map. Dark immediately recognized the scenario, added on another group of Zerglings, but already ran the drone on over towards the alternative third base location. So nice early game right here for Hero. Didn't really achieve all too much, because obviously you have to take into consideration the cost of that pylon as well. But still, nice little mind game right here to get things started. We'll probably see a creep tumor. At least we should see a creep tumor, but he's a little afraid right there of where the Adept is located. The Adept is waiting for the second one to show up. Link speed just about to finish up. And now we have an Oracle already out, and it's an Oracle into a Void Ray. Okay, one drone. Sadly for that worker, misrallied. Couple Zerglings going down. Will he keep the Adept alive? He will not. So now the second Adept is also just going to commit. 2 Queens are going to have to clean all of this up. In the meantime, Oracle is flying on in this direction as well. Some nice micro though. Some good mind games here as well. And ultimately, we do arrive at 6 worker kills for just 2 Adepts. As long as the Oracle stays alive, I don't think this is bad here for Hero whatsoever. Dark heavily droning on the back of this. He's going to check right now. He will indeed find that there is a third nexus. Now normally those 2 Adepts are critical for keeping the third base alive. Hero forced to warp in some more Adepts. We'll have to see if he decides to go all the way up to like 5 of those workers here in just a moment. Overlord hiding on the right side of the map, which is a little surprising because there is a Void Ray out. Against Dark, I would imagine you're going to check for this spot immediately because he is very fond of the Nidus Worm. Well, at this point, the Void Ray indeed does get sent back home. Twilight Council inside of the main base. Forge on the back of this as well. And even though we do have 2 Oracles, only one, is really active. The other one is mostly just used for scouting purposes and to make sure that everything is quite normal out on the map. Let's see though. Can I get any damage in? I mean, honestly, killing 6 drones and forcing out 3 spore crawlers is not bad. At the cost of only 2 adepts, I think this will be an early game that Hero is quite happy about. Yeah. Getting an Overlord as well, of course. 5 Zerglings, 6 drones. Not bad whatsoever. And here's the classic follow-up. Now, of course, in this matchup, the more damage you can do earlier, right, the better your follow-up is going to be. So Hero is very much so the type of guy who will try to layer the aggression. The more damage he does in the early game, the stronger the next line of attack is going to be. And usually that is indeed going to be the Blink Stalker. Dark trying to go for a 4th, but I think this one can be killed. It's gonna be close. Okay. Oh, he wants to go for the double. That's a little much. One of the Oracles pays the price. In the meantime, the Adepts, though, they do get surrounded. No retargeting on the low HP drones. They were probably out of range. 9 worker kills for an Oracle and 5 Adepts. Obviously a cancelled hatchery as well. I don't mind it so much because those Adepts, obviously, they do fall off quite quickly on the back of this. So we're going up to 8 gateways. 8 gateways together with a robo facility. +1 for the ground units and then also a link. This is, for all intents and purposes, well, I don't really want to call it an all-in, but it is certainly very committed. Now the Stalkers get scouted. Dark knows what he's playing against. Dark, by the way, still opting to go for the +1 melee upgrade. He's now double expanding as well. We've seen for most of the European Zergs, like for example Saro and Raynar, they seem to be favoring the +1 missile upgrade rather than +1 melee. Dark now only going for the Roach Warren too, so he's gonna have to hold against these Stalkers that are gonna be moving across the map here, mostly just with Zerglings. 4th Nexus coming up on the right side of the map. Maybe he's actually gonna play this quite passively. Yeah, it's an Observer first, no Prism. +2 and then also charge. No, he's actually not very committed. So we have 8 gateways, but we're not gonna commit to it. I think the original plan was to go across, but maybe he saw that his opponent was going for a lot of Zerglings and he knows that it's +1 melee of researching. So Hero is not taking any chances. Instead he wants to be the gateway man. Going to Stalkers and a whole lot of Zealots. Okay, Stasis Wards are nice. Obviously though, it's only 2 Oracles in this game. Not the conventional triple Oracle. You know what? I actually don't mind this. By going for an 8 gate, he had the opportunity to make this pretty much an all-in. But since his opponent is so committed to Zerglings, Dark is scared to really drone up. But it's really hard to play Ling Bane off of just 60-something workers. Hero apparently no longer using the all-army hotkey. You'll love to see it. Zergling run by over to the 3rd base. Robo facility is gonna get destroyed. Cybercore may actually not be too far behind either. Cybercore, of course, a requirement in order to make Stalkers, which is like 90% of the... Ooh, really? Immediately fires up +1 here. Alright. Anyways, it's a requirement to make Stalkers, which is like 90% of the army of Hero here. But Hero actually played this very passively. Very different than what we normally see from Hero. So, +1. +1 for the air units into a fleet beacon. And then we'll probably see a Skytle's army. So rather than being that tempo guy, rather than, yeah, almost being chased into an advantage, which seems to be what he usually likes, this is Hero playing very passively. At least for his sake. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, Hive is just going to finish up here in a moment. Dark at this point does not know about the fleet beacon transition. He hasn't seen it yet. It's quite difficult for him to scout as well. He decides to go into an Ultralisk Cavern. So Ultra Cavern here together with Adrenal Glands. I'm not sure if I like it, if I'm being honest with you, because without Carapace upgrades, Ultras really kind of suck. Hero rushes out the Mama ship. This is a 9-minute mothership. 5th Nexus coming up over at the Gold base. There's the 2nd and 3rd Stargate finishing up. Alright, now suddenly these Baneling run-bys though are starting to feel a little desperate. I'm assuming this one is for +1 Carapace. But you can see here that Dark doesn't really have a lot of gas as it is. Only 78 workers. Templar Archives. Okay. I think Hero has determined that apparently Dark's late game is not good. Or at the very least, that's the vibe I'm getting. No cancel? No cancel. Looks like the probes in the meantime had to run for just a little while. We have another Baneling roll by on the left side of the map. But I think Dark is, yeah, apparently showing to Hero in their previous encounters, because they do play against each other quite a bit. He must have shown that his late game is not quite to what you would expect. Now, accidentally right there, he does get the denial on the +1 air weapons. Zergling run by, going into the main base. Mama ship, though, can cloak everything and keep everything alive. In the meantime, there is also a push on the right side of the map. Ooh, okay, this base will stay alive. Mothership is out. And even though this was all a little dangerous, so far, Hero has handled it well. This is obviously also the moment, though, where Dark is gonna get the vision about that Skytles transition, right? So he's obviously seen the Mama ship at this point. And he will know that very likely carriers are gonna be coming up on the back of this. He may have even had vision of it. He definitely did. And he still decides to double down on Ultra Tech. So rather than going for units that can actually shoot up, Dark is trying to see if he can potentially overwhelm this before it gets out of hand. He'll probably be forced to add on a Spire here at some point. It's the only thing that really makes sense. First carrier is out. Ultras do take a very long time to kill with carriers alone. But they only have +1 armor done right now, or at least +1 carapace upgrade here. Chitinous plating is finished. But this is ultimately Ultraling Bane going up against what is soon to be a full Skytles army. So his plan is to just deal as much damage with this army as possible. And then transition, I would imagine. Yeah, the transition here is into Queens. Honestly, he's done a lot of work. Yeah, a lot of worker damage here, 38. So far, though, Hero being forced to play Zergling Whack-A-Mole. It will pop up on any side of the map, though, whenever he isn't paying attention. Okay. Yep, more Zerglings over in the natural. They once again burrow. Zergling run by to the 3rd base. Zergling run by towards the 4th base. Zergling burrow in the natural expansion. +3, +2 coming up. Dark basically just trying to buy time here. And you know what? It's working. It's just that I'm a little afraid he's poking the bear here. Like, there's a very good chance that at some point Hero is going to say, okay, that's enough. Because in a straight-up battle, this Zerg army is not going to win. I mean, we're making Queens as the main source of anti-air. Do we have any Spore Crawlers? Other than the 3 from the early game, we do not. I mean, obviously the win condition is to kill your opponent's structures, though, and every time Hero moves out, Dark moves in. This is such a Dark game, man. It's so funny. Nobody plays like this. Dark saying, yo, I can't beat your air army, so I guess I'll just do a full base race approach. I mean, he's done a substantial amount of damage. Hero is now down only to 16 workers. Here comes... Oh, really? He's gonna let himself get distracted one more time? Wow. I was gonna say, here comes the army. Here comes Hero. I wonder if Hero is getting distracted for a little too much time right now, though. Because Dark has got a solid amount of units. It's only 12 Queens. 2 more just about to pop. Infestors coming up. You can't help but love watching Dark, though. There's no way. If you were to ask Cyril or Raynar if they think this is a good strategy, I'm fairly sure they're going to tell you it sucks. You never know. Here's Microbial Shroud. Microbial Shroud and Queens to kill Skytles? Are you kidding me right now? I mean, these Queens are barely taking damage. Transfusion, by the way, is also a heal over time skill. So it has a portion of the HP healed immediately and then a portion of it healed a little bit later. Oh my god. I think he just did it. Well, the Queens are running out of energy. But Dark has got just so much more production. He only has a handful of infestors here. Alternatively, you could even be fungaling. There you go, the interceptors. Retargets right there on top of... That's such a nutty strategy. I can't believe it was Skytles. He threw down an Ultra Cavern after Protoss made the transition towards, well, a fleet beacon, and he still is making it work? I really wonder if he's making this harder than it needs to be, though. Wouldn't it have been easier if he decided to make Corruptors? There's another carrier going down. Hero not microing nearly as well with those units as you would like him to, and it's actually Dark who obtains the victory. That was one of the strangest counters to Skytles that I've ever seen. So let me get this straight. He sees that his opponent is going into carriers after he's gone into Ultras. So Dark says, perfect. Let me make more Ultras while building up my Queen count, and then go into Queen Microbial Shroud while I kill all of your economy? By the way, in case you're unfamiliar, Microbial Shroud, it is considered to be the worst spell in the entire game, but in the right situation, it's incredibly good. I can imagine some people just saw that ability and are like, whoa, what's this? What's this orange Dorito dust on all? Oh God, are we gonna? Okay. What's this orange Dorito dust covering those queens? Microbial Shroud reduces the damage taken for ground units that are underneath the shroud from air attacks by 50%. Which is huge. Now, problem is that normally Skytles is not just flying units. Normally Skytles is accompanied with, for example, High Templar. And that is what Hero was going for. So he wanted to go Skytles together with a whole bunch of High Templar. And at the highest level, Microbial Shroud, when you put it over here, you walk your anti-ground army, or your anti-air, rather, your ground anti-air army into that circle. It's basically a gigantic arrow that points, storm here! Storm right over there! So it's relatively easy to counterplay. But I guess Dark just reduced his opponent economy so much that there was no way that there was ever gonna be a High Templar clump, or for example any disruptors or anything along those lines. Even freaking zealots are really quite good in combination with all of that. Ay. That is one of those typical Dark moments though, where you can't really practice for that, right? Like that's just one of those things where he's thrown into that situation. He's like, you know what, this is what I'm gonna go ahead and do, and this is what you're gonna have to counter. Ultimately, that game was decided by Hero's base defense, and Hero ended up losing too many workers. Like, initially he did a good job dealing with all of the Zergling Bane, but then eventually there's a bunch that slipped through the cracks, and then more that slipped through the cracks, and then the Ultras came in as well, and ultimately his economy was absolutely down the drain. It's one of those strategies that you don't expect to work, and then Dark shows you that it can be done. I would love to see Dark give that strategy a try though against one of like the Protoss players that we consider to be defensive Protoss players, right? Because let's not forget, the way that Hero played in game number 1 of this series, very different than what we normally see from him. That is more of a playstyle that we see from, for example, a Classic, or for example, I don't know, Stats, Showtime, even MaxPax. MaxPax plays quite defensively these days. It depends on the situation. But that really kind of felt out of character. Hero, as far as the top level Protosses go, certainly on the very aggressive side of things. And I think after that early game he had, yeah, a 8-gate Stalker all-in would not have been a bad play. It's curious too, because he did an 8-gate Stalker all-in against, I believe this was Serral not too long ago, right? And that's something he did after an early game where he didn't kill any workers. He killed like 1 or 2 drones. So the fact that he decided to kill like 10 or so workers in the previous match, commit to making 8 gateways, but then not actually go for the aggression is a little bit surprising. Maybe it's because Dark was going mass Zergling. Yeah, +1 melee Zerglings, whereas the European Zergs tend to go for +1 missile together with roaches. Anyways, just thinking out loud here. I guess we will never know. Alright, so, once again, Oracle going straight into a Void Ray this time around. Just like the previous game, actually. Now he's not gonna follow it up with another Oracle, though, not a second Oracle. Instead, we're gonna add on the gateways as well as a Twilight Council a little quicker. 0 damage done as far as the Zerg economy goes so far. Which is, well, if this is going to be some aggressive Twilight Council attack, it'll be really quite bad here for Hero. It's Glaive Adepts? Okay. Delayed Glaive Adepts after your Stargate opener doesn't get much done? It's a bold move. Once again, +1 melee, by the way, here from Dark. Obviously, Adepts, they get about a 40% attack speed improvement with the Glaives research. So they basically have permanent Stimpack. Really good against Zerglings, +1 melee or not. Really bad, however, against Banelings. And I think this timing here for Dark is going to work out wonderfully. Assuming he actually has enough to, well, make in a bunch of, or morph in a bunch of Banelings too, right? Sometimes Zerg players will be caught off guard when all of the Adepts go across the map because they didn't really expect it. I'm assuming we're going to see Warpins. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for making me look good, Hero. I appreciate that. We're going to see Warpins hiding behind that wall. 28 Zerglings just about to pop. There's nothing, though, scouting. So at this point, Dark could be making Banes, but he doesn't know. He doesn't see. He's running Zerglings around the map, but he doesn't see until right now. Okay, so we are not going to have Banelings. 2 of them are morphing in right now, but these Adepts could certainly pack a punch. Oracle not controlled whatsoever. Well, for some reason, the Adepts just fully get surrounded. Are we not going to go any stasis wards? Any sort of double-pronged harassment? Nothing? I'm a little surprised because there's very little micro to do on those Adepts when you're in an engagement like that. More Adepts coming across the map. There is no prism or anything like that. And so far, honestly, considering Dark didn't see it, and this was basically best case scenario as far as delayed Adept attacks go, yeah, Dark's been handling this quite well. Economically, though, he needs to be careful. Dark right now at only 50 workers compared to 62 probes. He needs to keep this 4th base alive, I think, if he wants to have a chance of staying in the game. Okay. Well, oh my god, that base, it's going to die. Yeah, it is going to die, but with that, maybe all of the Adepts as well. You know what? Void Ray also falls. That still makes it okay. In the meantime, I actually just barely missed this. Banelings just walked into the 3rd base. That reaction right there from Hero, like 3 seconds after the Banelings already exploded. I think that actually makes the game very manageable here for Dark. Yep. That looked like it was gonna heavily tip in favor of Hero, but then Hero dropped the ball. Now suddenly, we seem to have a bit of a repeat from what we had in game number 1. Yeah. It'll be difficult to break through this, though. There's a sentry as well. Force fields will indeed continue walling this in. Dark just holding down the Zergling button, trying to produce as much as he can. Oh my god, probes are dying. And in a very typical Dark series, it looks to me like Dark is getting a very swift 2-0 victory. I love that we still have players playing like this, man. It's so funny to me to see everybody... Like, you know how, like, if you compare the early days of StarCraft 2, right? Everybody was playing... Because everybody was playing crazy strategies because we didn't have an established standard. And over the years, the pro gamers became more and more sophisticated, right? They're wearing 3-piece suits. They're smoking their cigars. They're, you know, they have a funny accent just to appear more sophisticated. But there are still a bunch of pro gamers out there, like, for example, Dark, that are just doing whatever they feel like. And you love to see it. It's very different, but still very effective. Well, all of that being said, though, he did a lot of damage just now. But he's not really in a position where I think we can call this a dominating advantage. Even though he killed 30 workers, he's only 5 probes ahead. Now we do have a Hydra follow-up. It looks like Dark actually wants to continue the aggression. And this could certainly turn into a scenario where Dark is getting a little over-eager. Hero playing this quite passively again on the back of all of this. I don't think he's in a scenario, Hero that is, to go onto creep. +2 melee is going to finish in a moment. I mean, he may think otherwise, but there's still no prism. 58 workers still. Very low for a Zergling-based unit composition. I like the stasis wards here. Okay. Nice Blink Stalker control. Oh, lovely. Great sequence of events. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, we did have a little bit of a run-by. 2 probes have gone down. Nothing all too crazy. These banelings are gonna wake up out of stasis in about 10 seconds. Hydra's obviously in a straight-up fight. Pretty good, but the numbers do certainly favor the Stalkers. I feel like the Oracles have been useful, but they have not really been controlled as well as I would have liked them to. He's actually gonna go for a proxy. Really, Hero? Okay. Yeah, Hero wanted to be a sophisticated man in the previous game. He already took out his 3-piece suit, his top hat, his pipe, his cane. He already had all of it out, but in game 2 here, he's bloodied and dirty. He's gonna try and wrestle with Dark in the mud. This is what we normally see between these two. I mean, off of 58 workers, I have a hard time imagining the Ling Hydra army is gonna work out. Maybe I'm mistaken, but these Stalkers are being microed well. Only really a handful of them have gone down so far. Yeah. The only thing Dark can really do is just keep making Hydra Ling. I don't think there really is any alternative for him here. How many Stalkers have gone down? 17. Yeah, that is kind of a lot. I do see a couple Stalkers falling every time. I don't want to be too critical, but it is a little dangerous. Keep in mind that Dark does have +2 melee done, which makes those Zerglings very formidable. Hero decides to knock down the rocks. Could help him out, could also help out his opponent. He's trying to drag this army off creep. Again, stasis wards would be nice. Any sort of double harassment. A couple of adepts, for example, shading into the 3rd base right now. I feel like Hero is a little tunnel visioned. I don't... Okay, aggressive blink, really? Drones are gonna be pulled away from their mineral lines. Hydra's coming out, Zerglings. Okay, he decides to chase this off creep. No blink on those Stalkers for at least a little bit, so those Banelings dealing maximum amount of damage. Very slow warp in over here. +1 melee, or sorry, +1 missile is going to finish up as well for all of those Hydralisks, which makes them significantly more powerful. Handful of drones fell there, but not really enough to sacrifice all of the Stalkers. Dark's a dangerous man. Happy to play the patience game. Keep in mind, right, that Hero has got this urgency in him because his bases are running low. So this is quite a large amount. Like, Zerg doesn't have a lot of drones, but there are a lot of mineral lines. So Dark can just transfer drones towards another expansion. Whereas Hero doesn't have that luxury. He's building a 4th Nexus just now. He started it up at the 6 o'clock position. But his mineral fields are gonna start running low. So he needed to get something done. And that's exactly what Dark was waiting for. +2 melee is not to be underestimated. It deals so much damage. Nice targeting there as well by the Zerg player. Okay. And suddenly this Protoss army is starting to fizzle out. Dark's feeling confident as well that he can spend the resources on Baneling speed as well as +2 missile. And he may just be right. A lot of Zerglings out on the map right now. Dark has not made a drone in like 10 minutes. He will scout the 4th base right now at the bottom of the map. He's just seen it. No stasis wards or anything there yet, right? Yeah, he's starting them up right now, but since there's no Nexus finished, he can't battery overcharge. Dark gets here at the perfect opportunity as the Nexus is finishing up. And I think the Nexus is gonna fall. "14 minutes in. Main base will be down. Natural expansion's running low. Third base. I mean, still fully saturated for now, but... Here's the Banelings. Dark is trying to see if he can go for a shove. He doesn't need to go for an all-in, but he's smelling blood in the water, and he feels like he can get it done right here, right now. And I think he may just be right. There's not even a shield battery over here to overcharge. +2 melee, of course, incredibly dangerous. Even though the probes don't get one-shot anymore in 2024. That was a down and dirty strategy right there from Dark, and he manages to get it done in the end.